You know, as a brother, I'm really trusting you. Damn, what did I do
The heat.
to deserve? Okay. All right. Who sent you?
Chanel West Coast.
God, man, what is that?
The Funkasaurus.
I'm about to punch you. Oh, wow. There we go.
On 32 land. Today we're the face you guys know. If you guys have been watching wrestling for a long time. Also humongous on Fox right now, both literally and figuratively. And he's got a book out, just a memoir by Tyrus. The link's gonna be below. Make sure you go grab it, support this man. He's gonna tell his life story. He talks about, you know, how he got into wrestling, his upbringings, and really what's led him to the success that he has in his life, to where he has a beautiful family, a beautiful home, a career that's just really taking off, and got multiple shows on Fox Nation, Fox Sports. So it's living the American dream. So make sure you grab this book. Like I said, grab it right now. It's gonna be in the link in the bio. Grab it. Absolutely.
You know, I'm really excited how friendly and happy you sound, because all your videos don't look friendly or happy, but I'm pumped, ready to get through this, see this, ready to do this.
Yeah, we're gonna find out right now.
We're gonna find out, yeah. I've heard, listen, I've had a lot of friends, and I've done some research, and everyone says, bring my A game.
That's
like, I gotta be mentally tough, but I can't set myself to the standard of Goldberg, because you know he's not a human being.
He's built out of steel.
Yeah.
Or gold, one of the two. All right, let's roll. Let's just check your shoulder range of motion first. So this right arm's gonna go up all over your head. Now let's do the right arm. Now do both all the way. Get down cutter style.
Oh god.
Yeah. So we got a little work to do there.
Yeah, it's like right here. Just nothing moves.
Okay.
I feel like I worked the wrong muscles and forgot one. There's like one little one just keeping everything locked in.
The $1 million question is what happened to the Celtics, man?
Okay, I thought this was going to be a safe place.
Should I run? Should I run?
You really want to go there? Okay, I'll tell you what happened to the Celtics. The moment was too big for them, but they're young, and we need a point guard, and we need a little more length. So if we got that. We got Bogans, I like him. Gallinari, I guess, is another shooter, but we need length. We need to grab one of his, Cousins is just sitting out there, Boston.
Make a move.
He's available. He's just there. Yeah, I knew there was a reason why you were making me mad.
So we're gonna work right through that spot. So bring your left ear down to your left shoulder. All right, Tyrus. So we have a lot of crossover fans, like I said. What got you into wrestling to start with? Did you grow up watching wrestling?
Yeah, I was a diehard fan. I was at least a 4-time cardboard heavyweight champion with a tinfoil cover in my neighborhood.
Okay.
They said don't try this at home, but we were already knee deep in it. We had feuds. It was different front yards with different venues. I was either Andre the Giant, Mr. Wonderful, or sometimes I'd be the American Dream, Dustin Rhodes, depending on what show we watched. And then,
were you always the big guy in the neighborhood? You came up with this size, or?
I was, but I usually played with older kids, so I was normal size, but they were usually 3 or 4 years older than me.
Okay. So your absolute favorite growing up was?
Okay, so like I said, I watched every show. So the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes was my favorite in the WCW era. But Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, and Andre the Giant, and pretty much anybody in the Bobby Heenan family was my favorite. But I cried like a baby when the famous Saturday Night Main Event match between Hogan and Mr. Wonderful, and they both hit the floor at the same time, and I was yelling. Orndorff hit the floor first. He's the champion. And I was so loud that I woke my mother up. Couple problems. One, you shouldn't wake your moms up. And two, I was supposed to be in bed. I snuck out at 11:30 to watch the match, and I was being so quiet. But I got caught up in the moment. So it was a whooping that night. So Orndorff and me both had a rough night that night. But I didn't regret it. I was glad I watched it.
So you said you watched everything. So you were watching NWA,
WWF, UWF, AWA. Now the nice thing about AWA was if you stayed home sick from school, it was on ESPN all day.
Yeah.
So that was like one of the bonuses for being sick.
It's like that and like World's Strongest Man, where you're up late night with reruns.
Yeah, Ken Patera.
Which, circle back around, the NWA TV champ.
Yeah.
Currently, could be taking the heavyweight belt soon. Yeah. So this is the only time you'll probably see him without the belt anytime soon.
No, I put it up. My wife made me do that. It's kind of cool. Well, one, being the NWA is awesome anyways, because I grew up watching it, and I'm glad to be able to kind of bring something back. Mm-hmm. But it's one of the championships that I always, because it was always on TV, and like the great feuds with Tully and the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, or the Russian Sickle. I was always Nikita Koloff. I was always into all that stuff. So that was the one title where you saw every feud, every match. So unfortunately for Pope, when I showed up and I saw that he was the world television champ, I was like, well, you're my Huckleberry.
So when did you start training for wrestling? You played football.
Yeah, I didn't start training for wrestling until I went to McDonough, Georgia.
And how old were you then?
I was like maybe 31.
So this is way after you've done playing football on.
I was transitioning. Football was over. I was substitute teaching and bouncing clubs.
So what position did you play in football?
I was a guard and a tackle. And then arena football, I played a little bit of everything, because you got to go both ways in arena football. So.
Right.
Which was my last game, actually. I had a better defensive game than offensive game. I had a sack, a scoop, a score for a touchdown, and a safety. And then after the game, the problem with arena football for me is every time I hit the ground, it felt like I was leaving a part of me on the floor, because a lot of those arenas, there's ice rinks underneath them.
Oh yeah, okay.
So it's like the thick turf, and it's one of those things where you love the game so much, but my heart wasn't in it, because it was like something as simple as not smelling the grass or the outside turf. It just changes your sight. Like, it's like you're doing this, you're playing this different version of football because you're hoping it's going to get you back to where you want to be. And at some point, you realize that every year you're not there. There's 1,000 kids who are just coming out that are younger, faster than you are. So at some point you have to just say, it's time to move on.
Right, okay.
And for me, it was Staples Center. I had a good game, and I was like, that's it.
Hung it up. Love the cleats in the ring.
Wrestling's the one sport where, like, when guys leave their boots in the ring, I feel like that should be it. You should not ever, if once you leave them in the ring, you don't get to come back. Like, I think they should just, you come out, you cut your promo, and then somebody walks out, hey, bro, show them the tape. You left your boots in the ring, so it's time.
So you're not going to Ric Flair's last match?
No, with all my heart, no. And I wish them nothing but the best of success, but the problem with wrestling is it's the only sport where you can kind of come back.
Yeah, if you're a needle mover, somebody's going to pay.
His ticket sales, I think they're trying to sell like 9,000 or something like that. And they're like $1,100 a shot. So, if it works, it should be send him off on his glory. But there's also another side of it where there's no, like I said, I don't believe in a number. George Foreman won the heavyweight championship in his 50s, so I get it. And with today's training and
look what Sting is still going.
Oh yeah, Sting is going at a high level. So you can't really so I said there's no number.
Now he's the ultimate outlier, probably, right?
And there's Goldberg's another one. He doesn't age either,
right?
And even Undertaker. But as you get up there, because in my mind I have a clock, and like I said, I've talked about it a few times where I was getting to the point where it might be time to hang them up. But in the ring, when you're trying to do stuff and it becomes a lot harder, then you know that you're probably doing your fans and yourself a disservice by staying too long, because the fans will let you know, not at first, because wrestling fans love you.
Sure.
And they will, when you come out, they'll give you that initial chant. But once the match gets underway, that's the truth. And when you don't have them, then it's time to let it go, because they're always going to give you that pop.
Like age-wise, is that predicated on style? Because if you have because Rey Mysterio is still going, at a high level too, and
if Ray is another guy. Ray is the heaviest small man on the planet. He would come off the top rope on me, and he would weigh 600 pounds. And he's the only guy, if he didn't want to go, if you snatch Ray up and you're getting ready to T-bone him or something, and he doesn't feel like going, he can literally go from, what is he, $1.25 soaking wet?
Yeah.
He can increase his weight to 400 or 500 pounds just like that. If he doesn't want to go, he's not going.
Because I feel like there's certain styles.
Yeah, his style.
You and Goldberg are kind of that run through you, crushing kind of a style of wrestling, right? So I feel like the duration of that probably is a longer lasting.
It's when you pace and you work big and solid and smart. I don't take many. Lately I've seemed to keep finding myself on the top rope. I gotta stop that. But that style that Ray does, and the style that a lot of young guys do, and the longevity. There's no way, but Ray, if anyone can do it, Ray can. But seeing a guy in his 60s doing that stuff, I don't think would be.
Yeah, him and Sting both. Just watching them still,
And Sting's changed his style, but Sting's always been that guy. He can wrestle any style, any way you want it. You want to get rough, you want to get physical, he can do it. You want finesse, you want technique. Arn Anderson was the same way. But Arn he's from that era where they fought 300 days out the year.
Right.
So even if age is not one thing, but they wrestled 6-7 lifetimes. Anyone from that era.
Let's walk right there. Briefly that spot. Woosah. So is there somebody that you wish you would have had a match with that you probably won't get to now? Is there somebody you
I came close with Goldberg a couple times, but that's not off the bucket list. Sting would be on the bucket list. Dustin Rhodes.
Okay.
He was my agent in the WWE and one of my favorite people. His nickname's Chicken, for obvious reasons.
Right.
It's long. He is probably one of the best technical guys. I've been lucky to where I've gotten to dance with just about everybody. Cena, he kind of owes me a match still, but I'm willing to let it go. He made that. It's funny because in my book I talked about how he went to the bathroom so I could get my WrestleMania moment. And he also kind of inspired me. I didn't talk about it in the book, but so Big E Langston is one of my most favorite people on the planet, and I wish him well with his recovery. Oh Jesus! All right, there we go. And I'm sitting at home. I'm with Impact, and me and EC3 we're chasing Kurt Angle for the heavyweight championship. And here we go. And I get a text like, "Hey man, maybe you should watch Raw tonight." And I'm like, "Why? What's going on?" Like, I've been out of Raw, and I'm like, if I flick it on, I see Cena on there, and he's like, flash in the pan like the Funkasaurus in the XFL. And I was like, damn, what did I do to deserve it? Okay. All right. Who sent you? Do I owe you money?
It was gutfeld.
You sure it wasn't Ingrid?
It was.
But
He's onto us.
So he dropped that disc, man, and I did notice that I got a ton of likes from Twitter, so I was like, hey, thanks. But I was like, flash in the pan, I'll show him. So I'm inspired a lot by Spike stores and Spike behavior. So if you
say you can't do something,
I'm gonna get a Spike store.
Have you seen the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode?
I live it. It's
okay.
Curb Your Enthusiasm is like a Bible for me.
Yeah.
He's exactly.
That's the goal, is to get rich enough to not have to do anything, just drive around all day.
My book, ironically,
meaningless little beefs over nothing.
Yeah, well, my book is a Spike book.
Is it?
Yeah. So
somebody said you couldn't do a book, or what?
So one thing with me, it feels like I need to really work on first impressions, because every time I meet somebody for the first time, when it comes to getting a job or an opportunity, the answer is always no. And then somehow when I get there and get established and do well, the answer was, oh man, I wish I would have known now what I knew then. So I gotta work on that. But I pitched my book idea to HarperCollins, which is the big publishing company that works with a lot of Fox News books and stuff. And they were like, you got an interesting concept. It's like a little bit of everything. I'm trying to remember to breathe.
You lost him for a second.
Yeah, he got in there good. Like I said, it's trying to get these shoulders to move is a lot of work. Oh, there we go.
Bring him back.
There it is. But they went ahead and they said, okay, we'll give you a book deal, but here's the deal. You got to have a ghostwriter. And I was like, I don't want a ghostwriter. I don't think anyone can write my voice, but what do I know? I've never written a book before.
I thought it was going to be like a guy on a motorcycle with a chain. And like
that would have been cool, yeah, but not Nick Cage version. But yeah, not Nicolas Cage. But not that there's anything wrong with Nicolas Cage. He just wasn't a good ghostwriter.
Yeah.
But I loved his movie Pig. That was great. But
they said the ghostwriter, and you're like, wait a second, what are you saying? I can't do this?
He's like a really depressed ghostwriter. He's like, hey, what's going on? Like I thought he'd be a little more intense. Because he's not, you know what I'm saying? Like Nicolas Cage is never intense. He's just not an intense guy. He's always kind of like the water's half full kind of a thing. Like,
it's kind of,
That's like when he was going to be Superman. I was like, how is that going to work? You know,
like make Keanu Reeves like Ghost Rider. You're like, yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we got to save the day, I guess.
Morbius.
The day's half over. But yeah, so HarperCollins made me get this ghostwriter, and they said we have just the guy for you. And he writes wrestling books and sports books, and so he's going to be perfect for you. And you know, oh wow, there we go. And you just submit your writing to him. He'll help you put it together. He'll format it. I'm like, awesome, right? So I get with this guy, and he's all excited, right? But I started talking about my time with Snoop, and that's all he wants to talk about. I'm like, I'm not writing a book called The Reader's Guide to Being Around Snoop. Like, Snoop is a small chapter in my life, and I get he's an awesome star, but that's his fame.
I don't know this part of it.
You know, so
that's your homeboy Snoop.
I used to be his bodyguard. Yeah.
Ah,
yeah.
I didn't know it.
Chapter 13. Way
Chapter.
To go.
So there's a lot of stuff you gotta uncover in the book, guys.
Coach youth football with
Link
Snoop.
below.
And so all he wanted to do, and Snoop did an interview with me on Fox Nation, and we were talking about our coaching his youth football league, which is phenomenal. And
Snoop Dogg on Fox, huh?
Yep. See, don't believe that stuff, man. But he just wanted to talk about Snoop all the time. I was like, oh, I don't want to talk about Snoop anymore. No disrespect to Snoop, I love him to death, but he wouldn't want me writing a book about how I hung around him. You know, like there's enough vultures in the world. I'm not one of them. And like my story's all right. So after about 3 months, I'm sending stuff, I'm writing stuff, and all that shit. And then he literally was like, oh, this is good. This is so good, man. We're so formatting. Like, we've got this. Like, this is great. I said, cool. Can I, like, see a chapter? You know, I'd like to see a chapter. Oh, that's not how I do my process. What do I know? I never wrote a book before. Like, okay, he's an artist. I got it. Cool. So another month goes by, and I was like, is there any way I could get, like, just a snippet, just a scotch, just a little something? He was like, Tyrus, how many times are I going to tell you?
Is scotch like a unit of measurement?
I believe so. I believe scotch, a smidge, you know, it's a small portion of some sort.
A stone, a scotch, a smidge.
So he refused to give me the scotch, and yet I respected the work. So at this time, I'm doing the Great Gutfeld show pretty regularly, and one of the guests he has on there is a gentleman by the name of Walter Kern, who's this great novelist. He wrote the movie The Air's Up There. And he was telling me about all the problems he was having in his youth when he was a writer and not meeting deadlines and stuff because he was dealing with like alcoholism and like all kinds of stuff and marriages, etc. And then he's like, some of the excuses that he was giving me, I was like, wait a minute, say what? And he's like, well, my guy told me that, he said, oh, you know what he said? He said, hey, Tyrus, you know what? If you want me to proofread and edit your stuff before you submit it, I'd be happy to do that. This guy's a legend.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, hell yeah. Yeah. And he had this book, Blood Will Let Out. I read it cover to cover in like 2 days. I was obsessed with it. So I told him, he says, well, he doesn't like to show anybody's work till it's processed. And he was like, what? Hey, let me ask you this. Does he get sick a lot? I was like, yeah. He's got a lot of things coming up. He's like, I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, he didn't do the work. I said, what do you mean he didn't do the work? So he's like, he didn't do the work. No writer doesn't want to show you your own, it's your work. Why would he not show your own rock?
Oh, look at that.
So I was like, oh man, now I'm feeling like, you know, if it was a cartoon, my head would have turned into a donkey. I was like, so I'm heated now, but I'm trying not to play my hand. So I hit this dude up and I was like, hey man, publisher just called me and said if we don't show him a chapter by tomorrow, they're gonna cancel the book. Straight, I don't know if his face was straight or not, but he literally said, bro, they can't do that. They already paid us, man, don't worry about it. Not to mention, I had to pay this guy 30 G's up front.
Oh.
Out of my advance, which was like 40. So it wasn't, you know, and then 10 goes to taxes, so I ain't get anything. Homie goes, well, you know, just, I'll call him, I'll set it up with you or whatever. I said, okay, call him and let me know. He never called him. So then I called Eric Nelson, who was my publisher, editor, or whatever, and told him, I told him the excuses, and he's like, oh, I don't think he did the book. I don't think he's doing the work. I think he got you. I said, got me? You assigned him to me. How'd he get me? He got us, team. Like, let's get together. Let's get this dude. Let's get my money back. Right. Let's get somebody else. Let's get moving, right?
Up, you know?
He was like, you know what? I gotta be honest with you. I don't feel like your book has much direction. I was like, no direction? Of course it don't. The guy you gave it to me stole all my,
stole my money, didn't do anything.
I'm like, so what are you saying? You gonna cancel my book? He's like, we're gonna put it on hold. Listen, every relationship I've ever been in my lifetime, when they said we're gonna put things on hold, she's gone. So if you're gonna drop my book, just have the balls to say you're gonna drop my book. Yeah. And he's like, okay, we're gonna drop your book. And we're gonna stick you with the bill. And I was like, you gotta pay us back the advance that you paid the guy that I gave you. Straight, I mean, I was assuming his facial expression was pretty matter of fact. So I was heated, and I was like, you know what? Okay. One thing I've done in my lifetime is like when I get hit in the mouth, I'll check my mouth to see how bloody it is, and then I'll get ready to swing back. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to go to Chicago and find this little guy. But I tried to talk to him. I tried to appeal to his senses, you know, and I called him up and I just said, like, Joaquin, you basically stole 30 grand from me, and I have nothing better to do than fly out. I have your address. I know where you take your daughter to school. Like, you got me, you know, because I know this because all the excuses. His grandmother's been sick. His cat died at one point. Then the vet brought it back, said to rush back to the hospital. Like, this dude had every excuse in the book. And in the real world, nobody cares about your excuses. Yeah. Well, this dude didn't. He had one, and I think he wanted to keep it. So, and I'm not saying you're going to end somebody over 30 grand, but that's at least an ass whipping.
You know, there's some rules.
Yeah, he was a habitual line stepper to all those rules. So I basically said, look, man, what do you have? And he was like, oh, I'll send it to you tomorrow. Send it tomorrow. He sent me the interview from Snoop that he transcribed. But I knew he got it from Fox News because all the cuss words were taken out of it, and some of the stories was changed. And I was like, bro, are you doing this on purpose? Is this a game? And I'm like, where's my work? He's like, oh, I don't have any of it. I didn't save any of it. I said, what, there was a hurricane in Chicago and it washed your stuff away? I said, all right, man, do you know anybody in the business, any publishing firm or anyone that I could, actually, I got a friend named Jacob at Post Hill Press. If you want, man, maybe I could set up a meeting and we could sell the book that way. And I was like, yeah, maybe we could. I'm a lot of things, but stupid ain't one of them. But to get that contact information, it's we. And then once I got it, it's me. And so he did it.
Myself and I. And
yeah, all that stuff. You know, it's like they say, there's no I in T, but there is an M-E. So we set up the meeting, and he was like, hey, do you want to make it a group call? No, I'm going to go it alone, Briz. I got this one. And hit it up with Jacob and Anthony from Post Hill. I told him, and I just real with him. Like, and this time I got a literary agent, and she was like, don't get all the specifics of it. I'm like, no, I'm going to tell them exactly what happened, because at least they know what they're getting into, and I don't want to.
And don't try this again, because
that's not going to happen.
Smash it all.
They immediately knew, because he had done it before with other books, and they're like, we don't use him, but we friends with him, but we don't use him anymore for those reasons. So I gave them my pitch. They said, hey, let's screw it, why not? And I used their advance to pay back pay back HarperCollins. So when my book dropped and came out, you should never punch down.
Right.
In this case, now I can punch down if I want to. But I feel like one punch down is fair. One punch down is fair. One punch down is fair. So I sent an email to Eric Nelson, and the reason why I use his name because he went on Twitter. So I'll protect the other guy, right? But not protect him, but I'm not going to give him any air.
Sure.
So I sent him an email. Turns out, oh, by the way, it debuted at #1 on Amazon. So #1, which means they're buying it. I dust my shoulders, but he's fixing them right now. But not to brag. So I was like, hey, turns out my book had some direction.
What do you know?
And he wrote back, I'm just in shock. And like, did you get a new writer? Like, this is so amazing. Such an amazing story. And I was like, yeah, the writer was me. Thanks though, man. Appreciate it. So I said, and I let it go. I let it go. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had to kill, let it go. Mistake. In the movies, never let him live. That's right. The bad guys always mess 100%. Up. You got him? No. So I let him live. He goes on Twitter and he goes, on all my years as a publisher, I've never been more surprised and more proud of Tyrus for doing this book. And so I said, do I let it go? Because I don't like public stuff. But I was like, you know what? So I let him have it.
Tyrus smash.
I hit him. I was like, he said, this is his words. He said, quote, when Tyrus came to me with a bunch of stories about life and wrestling, I said, no one's going to buy this book. It has no direction, right? He told himself, and I said, appreciate it, man. He goes, I can't go on. I can't tell you how much impressed I am. And I just wrote back, sure you can. Would love to hear how impressed you are. But here's the cool part, bro. You are now going to be in a bunch of stories in my next book. So I appreciate you. Good looking out. Thanks for not noticing. And, enjoy yourself. Would you like a copy? So
thanks for setting us up for the sequel.
Yeah. So and actually, my second book, Just Tyrus Here and Now, which I'm working on, the first whole chapter is about all the BS,
the dirtiness of the industry,
how nasty. I mean,
So there's dirtiness in every industry, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it just takes different
You just gotta
forms.
watch young people writing your story, and they try to give you a ghostwriter, and you really gotta research them.
Yeah.
And don't pay them till you see the work.
Yeah.
Like you can give them a deposit, but like less than 10%. And then when they give you the work, then you pay them. You don't do the dumb thing that I did and was like, don't be so trusting.
You didn't know? Now you know.
Now I know.
He's trying to put you guys on game. So listen to the man. This is out of experience.
Because nothing feels better than spite, and that was the point.
Spite
It was a spite book.
I love it.
It was a very good spite book.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, so it wouldn't have done good unless
you had that passion behind it.
I don't know if it would have been as good with the ghostwriter. It probably would have been horrible.
Probably would have been.
It would have been like chapter 17, watching Snoop go to the bathroom. It was so, like this dude was obsessed with Snoop. So
That's funny.
if Snoop ever needs a ghostwriter, this would be the guy.
He's ready for you. Lay on your back.
All right.
Hanging in there?
Yep. It's like you get a little dizzy when all of a sudden everything you hold up gets loose and just kind of hangs for the first time.
So that's not quite as tight. Easy peasy. So we're gonna go like this. That's a perfect color for you. Giant man, pink scarf.
You know, as a brother, I'm really trusting you.
Brothers already. All right, bite down. There we go.
Jesus. Oh, I'm 6'8" again.
Perfect. Thank you.
Man.
Good assist. Where'd you feel that?
My entire neck. I didn't have one. I got one now. It's kind of cool. Wow, Adam's apple and everything.
Feel that decompress all the way in there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was like from top to bottom.
Perfect. So what's the story of you ending up on Fox? How did that happen?
Oh, met on the internet.
Oh.
Yeah, the show Red Eye. I used to watch it.
It's on the radio
Traveling.
like midnight, right?
Yeah. And it was on Fox News at like 2, 3 in the morning, and usually
For truckers, yeah?
yeah, usually you come in from off the road, and that's what was on. But Gutfeld was kind of funny. He said some weird stuff. And when he moved to the Gutfeld show,
Same thing here.
it just started, and then somebody was trolling him. I forget what they said. Or
You guys have been beating Kimmel and
yeah, we smoke them.
Yeah.
It's not even close. And they're in, 30 million more, 25 million more homes than we are.
right.
So they got to bleed, but we always, like, statistically, it's not even close, but.
Like per capita, it's like through the roof.
Yeah, but we still beat them.
But even
straight up,
Rutgers,
too,
yeah.
But, so some guy said something, I made a joke.
And my mom says to say hi too. She's a big fan.
Oh, tell her thanks for watching. If she wants, I'll send her a book.
I'll buy a couple. We
Got it.
support her around here.
But so he messages me and goes like, "Hey man, I really appreciate what you said. Any chance you'd like to be a guest on the show?" And I was like, "Me on Fox News?" Right. And then I thought there was a setup.
So what was the right for?
I just didn't. It's a political show.
Sure.
It's I mean, I make jokes and I act and I wrestle, but I don't talk about politics.
Right.
So other than in the locker room with the guys and stuff, because Kane, Mayor, Glenn Jacobs, and Daniel Bryant were always very. A lot of our locker room conversations were.
Those guys are opposites, yeah?
No, they're a lot. Well, on TV they were, but both of them are very
No,
like,
politically
fiscally
speaking.
responsible.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
politically, yeah, but like as far as like being responsible, and Kane, he would hold court in the locker room.
People
just
don't
talk.
understand how smart Glenn Jacobs is.
Oh, he's brilliant. And he's a great leader and he's a great mayor. But he would talk to guys about being fiscally responsible, saving money, paying your taxes, paying attention to how you vote, what you look at. And he opened a lot of eyes, and a lot of us started researching. And when Glenn Jacobs wants to talk to you, you better be informed because you want to be a part of the conversation. Right. You know, so Jesus.
Yeah, he had a lecture on, it's on YouTube. It's talking about like laissez-faire capitalism and
Yeah, he's brilliant.
yeah. So people hate on him because of his politics on Twitter, and I'm like, you might be barking up the wrong tree here, guys. I don't think you want to get in a debate with Glenn. He knows his stuff. You might disagree morally or whatever. That's a different story. But if you want to talk facts and numbers, oof.
And he's not tribalism. You know, he has a philosophy, and I really respect it.
Right.
And I don't agree with him on everything, but I'm not supposed to.
Yeah,
You're not supposed
nobody's supposed to agree with anybody.
No one's
on
supposed
everything,
to. You're supposed to form your own opinions. You can agree together, you can disagree, but the idea is you keep the conversation going because you might learn something from each other.
Right. Some people might like pink, some people might not, you know.
But yet,
Here we are.
I like green. You saw my green.
Yeah, I like green.
It's right there. It's all green. That's
My favorite color, Scrooge McDuck's favorite color, Tyrus' favorite color. Can you go to the left for me? This way?
oh, sorry.
And then back to center, and then again to the left again. And center, and again. And center, and one more time. And center. Good. Let's go to the right. So if you know, I watched your show quite a few times. So what's with the girl that's like the eyeglass wearing Chanel West Coast of
Kat?
Yeah.
Kat is the glue that holds us together. She's the adult in the room.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm the adult in the room, but she's like the one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it feels like
she
you're the
keeps-
adult in the room.
Yeah, she kind of keeps me from killing Greg.
Yes, that's the vibe I get from it.
Yeah.
How close do we come to killing Greg?
Oh. Sometimes, because his mutant power is weirding people out.
I can see that.
Greg Gutfeld is the most comfortable person in his skin I've ever met in my life. Nothing phases him. You cannot insult Gutfeld. It's not, he knows who he is, what he is, and I respect that about him because most people don't show you all who they are, and what you see with him is what you get. So, and he'll push boundaries and he'll call people out, but he's able to do it because he's so damn smart. He's another guy like Glenn Jacobs, who, by the way, we're working on getting Glenn to come on the show, but he's been so busy. And I respect that a lot. Most people in the middle of a campaign would jump at the shot of going on TV,
Right.
but he's in the middle of, and he's putting some great videos out right now with Glenn, where he's out in the people and going door to door and working on votes and stuff. And he passed up. Right now is not a good time because he's in the middle of an election, and I have a lot of respect for that because most people would take the easy way and go on the camera.
Sure.
But
Try to get the national recognition.
but eventually we'll get him on there. I'll be interested to see those two. But Greg, going back to that point, man, he's just not afraid, and he's creepy. He's got little creepy, quirky things he does, and a lot of times I'll be like, hey, man, no, culturally I don't do, we don't talk about stuff like that.
We don't do that, man.
No.
None of that stuff.
And he's not afraid. People call him feminine, weird, whatever. Gutfeld's like whatever.
Safe to say you guys grew up differently.
Yeah, it's differently but similar.
Okay.
In a way that, like, I think Gutfeld kind of knew who he was his whole life. I don't think he had much of a childhood in terms of, like, I think he had to deal with a lot of things up front and center. And I think that when you see the world for what it is when you're younger, you have like a different kind of a wisdom growing up because you've experienced things. And some people are lucky enough to actually have a childhood, and sometimes real life can be a little tough for them because they were shielded and protected from a lot of the ugliness. And I think
They get punched in the mouth in the real world.
yeah, and they're like, Mom, Dad, what do I do?
Yeah, I can see
and I think Greg was the adult in his house. At least that's my gut feeling.
So you say like finding who you are. So you're mixed race, correct?
Yeah, well, black, but yeah, I'm Scottish.
So what is that like? Because different cultures in the U.S. There's cards and invited to the quinceañera or the barbecue.
Oh yeah, unfortunately, the term black is like, at least with Latinos, there's so many, but they're all recognized. Cubans are different than Brazilians, Mexicans are different than Puerto Ricans, and they all have their own culture and they pass things down. One of the things about being an African American is that was severed.
Right.
And then you have different groups from different parts of Africa and different parts of Australia and the West Indies and stuff are all kind of, so each particular group will take on certain customs. Southern brothers have a different way of doing it because we all kind of learned and adapted and picked and choose. So there isn't, unless you have a direct line to somewhere, like in my family, there was a line coming from Jamaica, but I wasn't around them long enough to really pick up on stuff. So pretty much I just kind of fall in line with whatever was on TV, like the holidays and stuff. And you kind of invent your own things.
Right.
You just kind of pick and choose, and then you kind of morph with who you are. Because like I don't have much.
That gives you like a stronger sense of self-identity where you don't.
Yeah, because you kind of, it's something different when you can pick and choose what you want to.
You're not really part of a group.
You don't really belong to anything. Yeah, so you're not, you know, the fifth generation. You just don't have that.
Right.
And, you know, and then when you meet other people, it's not, you don't ever get the thing was, well, we don't do that.
Right.
It's like, oh, what's that? I'll try that. Why not?
Yeah.
One of the things about being American is that we can just do anything.
Right.
It just in the last few years as it became like you start hearing cultural appropriation and you're like, it's called a melting pot for a reason because we all steal each other's stuff.
And virtually nobody's like going to pass any sort of racial purity test.
I don't know one. I grew up in California, so
everybody's part something.
yeah, I've had every enchilada taco known to man, and no one ever said, "Sir, it's not for you guys."
Yeah. If you grew up in Cali, you're like automatically invited to the quinceañera.
Yeah, like I never. Yeah,
you're already part Mexican for sure. Like
you went to find Mexican to be friends with because their moms was always cooking. My mom worked nights, so whenever
that's like
my
the
boy
coolest
Jose
part
was down the
about it,
street.
you know?
It was like we played ball together and stuff, but like every Friday night we're at his house because his grandparents would come on and they would be throwing down and there'd be like food everywhere. You didn't want to be on the wrong side of him.
Yeah, the western part of the U.S. is, I've always found was cool like that because there's so many different groups. You know, you have East Asians and you have Pacific Islanders and just everybody sort of like molds together. And you don't in the South and Midwest, like there's a lot more. When I lived in Cincinnati, and stuff, there's a lot more segregation and
because they set up and they're like the Irish moved in one section. You see that on the East Coast and stuff, but the West Coast, like
Chicago, New York.
I remember in high school,
this, little that, little this, you know, and I'm like, oh.
I don't ever think I saw two people together that matched.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you never just saw. It was always like it was me a Hispanic dude with a sister or a white dude with a sister. It was always mixed. It was never, you know, when you saw two people of the same tone walking together, like oh they didn't even try. You know, because it's California, man. Everybody mixed it up. So that's one of the. That's why when I hear the stuff today, I just kind of laugh. I'm just like it's nothing new. Everything you're bringing out isn't new.
Yeah.
It's just that we handled it better growing up. Internet itself, but I think the social media platforms have really hurt us.
Yeah.
In terms of, there's that great movie, I think it's called Her, and it basically shows the only thing they missed was they had everybody in sweats, but it was workout clothes. Everyone wears workout clothes. You didn't even got to work out with workout clothes, but no one talked to each other. They all had their little earpiece in, and their best friend was Siri, and of course what's his name, Joaquin. He played the Joker. What's the dude's name?
Phoenix.
Joaquin was the one the good-looking one passed away.
There's Heath Ledger, and there's Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, okay, Joaquin Phoenix, yeah. He plays, in the movie, it's called Her, he falls in love with his Siri.
Okay.
And he goes through a whole relationship with her, right? And then she leaves him because she's Siri. She had like 20 million programs where she was with all other guys.
Right.
Like, and then he found out, and he was like, you cheated on me.
There's such an opportunity for Alexa to come in and score, you know?
Yeah, Alexa. Like, but there's people that talk to Alexa more than they talk to other women. And they talk, like, think about it though. If that's your interaction, always agrees with you, always finds what you're looking for, then you go meet a person who's not going to agree with you.
Right.
You know, and then
not going to get you Chinese food at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Not going to play. Like I said, you gotta. If you want to have time, you gotta watch the movie Her.
Okay.
It's a little slow, but you'll start laughing and you'll be like, wow. One of my favorite parts of the movie, but it's relevant today, is that she was not a physical being, right? But there was people who would pretend to be her and come to your house as her. So you had to interview. So if you wanted to get it on with your internet fake Siri girlfriend, there was people who would identify as her to come to your house, but then they would, like, you had to tell them all their, like, they had to watch and like learn all the data, and they come and pretend to be that person.
That's working.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you have to watch it.
All right, Tyrus, your own personal Mount Rushmore presidents.
A president?
Yep. Now that you're in the political world.
Barack Obama, George Bush second, Abe Lincoln for obvious reasons, George Washington because he was willing to give it up, and I'd throw Trump on there just because he changed. He added transparency to politics.
Which Bush you have on there?
Second, because he's cool.
W?
Yeah.
He's a nice guy.
I really like his life after being a president. I think some of his books, if you've checked them out, like what he does.
I'm probably the most critical of him as a president from the foreign actions and all that kind of stuff, but I've actually had the chance to meet him a couple times in Dallas. Like, really, really nice guy. So you're like, oh, I don't want to like you, but.
Yeah, and like I said, Cheney kind of was, I feel like Cheney was kind of the brain trust.
That's the consensus, right?
But as far as human beings in the White House, I think he doesn't get enough credit for. I think he did a good job with but given the fact what happened on his watch with 9/11 and stuff, it's just, I don't think, it's just like the pandemic. It's always going to be judged because the circumstances of the environment didn't really allow for what normal presidencies, and they all have small things, they all have issues, wars in other countries and stuff, but when something happens in your front yard that changes the country forever, you know, and I think during Bush's administration, 9/11 obviously, and of course the pandemic.
Okay. So if you were going to have a movie, a fictional biopic or a real life biopic, I guess, on you, who would play you?
James Earl Jones, but it has to be from like 50 years ago.
Like a hologram?
He did this movie that when I was a kid.
A Pixar version.
Yeah, no, he did a movie. Well, first of all, I have James Earl Jones' Thulsa Doom on my hand, but when I was a kid, because he has the same color eyes I do, and we kind of look alike a little bit. And when I saw him as Thulsa Doom in Conan, I was hooked. I was like, this, I could be an actor. He's an actor. I could be an actor. Like, he's awesome. He looks like me a little bit, and he was awesome. And of course, he's the voice Darth Vader. But he did this movie called I think it was The White Hype. It was the boxing. It was he played was it Jim Jackson or John? Yeah, Jim Jackson, and the boxer. And it was a great movie. And I was like, man, this dude with a bald head and stuff, he looks like I did when I was a kid. So, but I guess in today's world, I don't know.
All right, if you had to choose one, Trump or Obama? If you had to choose one.
If I had to choose one, well, I'm going to go with Obama just because I liked, for one, I think he solidified the greatness of opportunity in this country. I think the fact that a black man can be elected by the entire nation, or at least more than 50% of it, to be a leader says a lot about the nation, says a lot about America, and even President Trump himself, that a reality guy, a guy with no public service, but they believed in him, they both changed politics as we know it at a high level. And like I said, my heart belongs to Obama, but President Trump changed my mind. But I did get retweeted by President Trump on a joke I made that was pretty cool.
Which is gone forever now.
Yeah, I was kind of pissed. You know, you have 2 million retweets on a joke. I don't care who it is. You know, with a few exceptions. I mean, obviously,
you can't even go back and look at it. You're like,
yeah, obviously, you don't want one of a horrible person to retweet you like Manson or like Hitler or some shit. But like, it's pretty cool when a president retweets a joke of yours. You know, I was pretty proud of that.
Not Rushmore Wrestling, but 5 on that. Who are they going to be?
Oh wow. Well, Andre the Giant's #1. The American Dream. Ron Simmons.
Okay.
Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. And Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
I like it. It's a good list. Worst gimmick in WWE history?
Every gimmick is the worst gimmick. It just depends on who does it. Funkasaurus could have been the worst gimmick ever. It could have been. If you don't embrace it, you don't make it yours, it's not going to work. So, worst gimmick. Gobbledygooker. That was the worst gimmick. Yeah, that's what
I was going to say Gobbledygooker
or the Mummy. The Mummy. The WCW Mummy.
The Mummy was bad.
Because the double bear hump spot was the most uncomfortable thing I ever saw as a teenager in my life. Like, I couldn't stop looking and I didn't want to look.
Got it. Raise his leg as high as you can.
knee straight.
Yep.
So straighten your knee and then lift the whole leg up. Okay, other side. Back down. All right, big guy, top 5 of all time.
Again, Andre the Giant, King. Kamala could work, man.
Okay, yeah.
Bundy. And Taker's, he was tall, but he was just a great worker. But you
Right.
make the same argument for King.
It's hard to fit him in there, right? Like you're like
Arn
but he isn't.
Arn Anderson would always tell me the same thing. He would say, because I'm a pretty good worker and I have the respect of my peers, and he would say, "Don't be a good big guy. That's like being a really fast one-legged runner.
That's good.
Be a good worker, be a good guy who happens to be big."
Right.
So that was always my goal. He was always say, "Work like me. Don't plod," and it's got Andre the Giant, Big Show, Kane, Bundy, and Kamala. I'll go that way.
Solid.
Big Show, what Paul did was Paul made it, and I remember this because certain things as a big guy, especially if you want to be lazy,
Look left all the way.
you would say something like,
Keep going. Keep going.
"I don't bump, I'm a big guy," and you'd be like,
A little further. A little more. Good. Back the center.
but you can't,
Look up all the way.
because a Big Show, you can't say that anymore
Right.
because his ass is working.
Look
And
straight
he-
up. Keep looking up. Keep going up. A little more. Locked in there.
He used to say, like, how many wet shirts have I had to take off rolling around teaching you in the ring?
Look up. Keep going up. Keep going. Keep going up. A little more. A little more. Good. And go right. Keep turning. Keep turning. Keep going. A little further. A little further. A little more. Good.
But yeah, Big Show, you can't do the, "Oh, I don't bump. I don't sell anything." Like, if Big Show's doing it, everybody got to do it.
Right. Does Mark Henry count as a big guy?
Of course he does. Big short guy, but he's the world's strongest man.
Right. Because I think when you think of him wrestling there, but he's 6'4",
Yeah.
3 maybe.
Yeah. I'm mad at Mark. So
You're mad at Mark?
Mark got me. I love Mark. He's one of my favorite people. But he did this thing where he told everybody he was retiring.
The salmon jacket.
Yep. And I mean, I walked, and I mean, he came up to me. He's like, "Dog, hey man, it's time, man."
He sold it to everybody. Huh?
Oh, he told me, like, my kids said they want me home. I'm like, "You sure, man?" He's like, "Yeah, dog, it's time." He goes out there. I'm waiting for him in gorilla, right? Because that's how the ultimate respect is. You waiting for a guy to come through the gorilla to give him a standing ovation. And it's standing room only, right? And I was one of the first guys in there. And he's out there, and when he told, like, "Hey, tell the kids daddy's coming home," I got a tear in my eye. And then next thing I know, he picks him up, hits him with his finish. I'm like, "Oh, that's a hell of a way to go out." Wait a minute. "Oh, you okay." He came back in with his big smile, and I wouldn't even talk to him. Like, "Don't look at me. Don't say nothing to me. I'm still mad, Mark." And he was so proud of himself. He was just
Sold it.
yeah. So now, and he's over doing great things at AEW.
Yep.
And he's got and he literally called me up to tell me. I said, "If you telling me you about to retire, I don't care.
believe you. I'll never
you
believe you
retired
again."
10 years ago. Like, as far as I'm concerned.
You
But yeah.
retired me 10 years ago. You're dead to me. You're wrestling wise dead to me.
But there was, if you are,
Look
when
up.
you go into like WWE, there's two guys that I think of, and like I said, my big guy Mount Rushmore will literally change every time we talk because I forgot about Big Vis and Mark because they were just two of the best people that you would ever want to be around in the locker room because they were always there for you. God man, what is that?
Finger.
I'm about to punch you. Jesus, get the hammer.
Get the hammer. Finally got him.
Motherfucker.
Took a while.
Like, this is irritating. This is like bad conversation. Like, I just want to, man.
Makes a lot of sense.
Please,
do not
please,
teach
sir,
my wife this hold.
Please, sir, do not hurt me, sir.
You want the belt? It's in the next room, bro. It's all
Take
yours.
it. To beat the man.
Yeah, you just gotta put your finger on his.
You gotta stick your finger in his collarbone.
Jesus.
That SCM cleared. So where does the name Brodus Clay come from? Did you come up with that? Was that your invention? Was that WWE owns it, so we're not gonna talk about it?
Do you know what Snoop's name is?
No.
His real name?
Snoop Lion?
No, that was a bad phase in his life, and how dare you bring that up?
Why are you bringing up bullshit?
Calvin Brodus.
Okay.
So out of respect, because he let me go, he let me out of my deal, he gave me the advice to go back to the WWE, so I went. And Clay is from Cassius Clay.
Oh, okay.
But Dusty Rhodes, when him and I came up with it, he laughed his ass off. He's like, Brodus Clay, you sound like you're from Alabama.
And he's a wrestling fan, yeah?
Snoop? Yeah, diehard. Yeah, it was him going with him to Jacksonville is what got me re-signed with the WWE.
Okay.
It's in the book if you can check it
It's
out.
in the book. What chapter?
I don't even know.
Check the index.
Yeah, it's there. It's not like it's only
not a
13
Snoop memoir.
chapters.
though.
Yeah.
There's some mentions.
Yeah.
All right, tell us about the Funkasaurus.
So again,
So you went from Albert Del Rio and Smash
on
Mouth
top of the
next thing you know,
news, on Superstars, my vignette started.
just straight
and
monster.
I fucked around and made some jokes in the locker room because that's what I do. I crack a lot of jokes. You know, I tell stories.
You're quick-witted.
Yeah, well, everyone was laughing. I was teasing Yoshi Tatsu. Yoshi Tatsu bought an all-white leather outfit with matching boots and man bag.
Not for a gimmick.
No,
For life.
personal.
Oof.
And grossly overpaid.
Oof.
And I was making fun of him, and apparently, again, Mark Henry was laughing.
He's got a sense of humor.
He was laughing, and he went and told Vince about the jokes I made. So next taping, I'm in the locker room, same thing, making jokes, and Vince walks by, and I hear a laugh. And I'm like, oh, that's the boss. So immediately you stop talking. So the next meeting, he's like, are we sure this guy's a killer? He's funny. And they're like, yeah, he's funny, so what? And he's like, and apparently to the boss, funny means you dance, because he likes to dance and sing. So somehow, some jokes turned into stop everything. I remember Triple H came up to me and he was like, okay, look.
Yeah, what were the musicals he used to do in the 80s? Like,
Yeah, he loves to sing and stuff, right? So Triple H came up to me like, listen, this isn't my idea. And Triple H was like one of the biggest pushers and helping me get the House of Pain thing going and being just an aggressive big heel, because the goal is, you want Cena.
right.
I mean, that's the goal. You want to either be in there with Taker or Cena or Punk or,
Yeah, get the big scary guy to take on the...
yeah, and he's like, they want you to come out smiling and dancing and shit. And he's saying it to me, and as he's saying it to me, I'm like, no matter how he says it to me, it's not making sense to me. It's
you're like, keep up
my
with
whole
that,
life,
my
whole life I spoke English, and today I don't understand a word coming out of your mouth. Like, I'm like, what you mean dance how? Like dance what? Like fight dance or something? He was like, no, like dance in the ring. I'm like who? And he's like, well, I said, wait a minute, you mean like dancing? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh man, I just want to take my ball and go home. But I just said, can I go to the Dream and me and Dusty figure it out? And he's like, yeah, you got a week. So I went, and the American Dream was waiting on me when I got back to FCW, and I was like upset, like I am right now.
So Cassidy Hutchinson, he grabbed towards my clavicles.
And I came in there, and Dusty's like, well, what you gonna do? I was like, you help me. And he's like, you don't want to dance? I said, no, I don't want to dance. He said, well, I had to dance. You better than me? I said, no. He's like, well, you got a family to feed? This is American Dream.
This is Dusty.
Yeah, and rest his soul. And he said, well, let's dance. I said, what you mean let's dance? He's like, you and me, let's dance. I said, I ain't dancing with you. Yo, man, get away from me. He's like, get up, take my hand, and let's dance. And I'm like, I'm not dancing with you. And he kicked everybody out of the sound booth, and he put on Moves Like Jagger. That was the song at the time. Yeah. And he said, let's go.
Dancing boogie.
Yeah, at the club, it didn't even bob my head, man. But he started doing his thing, and the next thing I know, I couldn't. At first, I was like running for him. I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, "Leave me alone! Quit touching me! Like stop!" And then next thing, I was like, "Fine, man, fine, all right." And then, like an hour later, I was like, "He's like, well, if you can dance with me, you can dance with anybody." I was like, "Yeah, but not in front of people." And he's like, "Oh, I'm recording this. Everybody know I'm seeing everything." So he's like, "You can do this." You know, and so I was like, if Dusty says I can do it, I can do it. But was working out at Hard Knock South with Rob McIntyre. They originally wanted to call me Heavy G. Well, first of all, Heavy, I was on a fucking diet, number one. And number two, Heavy D just died. Oof. So the last thing I want to be is G, because, you know, D, E, F, G. That's like 3 away. It's too close. So
that's exactly what I thought too.
We're in lifting weights, and I'm like, funk. And then Rob was like, Funkasaurus? And I was like, what'd you say? He's like, I don't know, Funkasaurus? And I was like, yeah, that's what it is, Funkasaurus. And what do you call the girls? I'm like, Funkadactyls? He's like, yeah, all right. So we just came up in the gym, but I didn't tell anybody. So Justin, who's the announcer at AEW now, he's like, it was my debut finally, and he was like, what am I calling you tonight? And I said, I'm from Planet Funk. The Funkasaurus and the Funkadactyls. And he was like, is this approved? Yeah, it's approved. And he's like,
and it wasn't?
Okay, no, I didn't ask nobody. I just wasn't gonna be no damn Heavy G. So he came out, he did it, and no one said nothing. And
there was.
I remember I came back through the curtain, and Vince and everyone was clapping. They were so happy. And Triple said, whatever you do, great job, but do not look at the internet tonight. Like, whatever you do not look at the internet tonight. But surprisingly, the internet was really kind. So it just kind of.
So who's the choreographer then?
Oh, everything was Trinity. Everything, Naomi. Trinity did all the choreo. Like, because I still can't. You know, it's like my wife can dance. She's a professional dancer, and even she can't help me. So it's just not in my wheelhouse.
Gotcha.
So, but you figure it out, and then the idea of having two great athletes on the side of you dancing is no one really pays attention to you.
Yeah.
So I can get away with doing whatever I want. I basically rode an imaginary horse to the ring and did some this and you know. And then the only thing I felt weird about was I'd rip you rip your pants off to the fireworks, but all the kids loved you, and it'd be nice to be like, I feel wrong. Ripping, like I'm not a stripper, you know, like Chris Farley maybe,
right?
You know, the closest description, but you know, you do the thing, and afterwards the really cool part was like JYD used to do. The kids would come in the ring and dance, and that, like, I would get through all that just to do that.
Okay,
so
cool.
I have my issues, and you know, just like anybody else, it's like, well, is the Funkasaurus going to be world champion? They're like, probably not. So then you get pissed because you're thinking like you're getting put in the lane. But when I look back at it, it's the greatest part of my career because I had to be out my box,
do something different.
I had to do something different, and I had to do it at a high level because the one audience that sees through everything is kids. If you're fake, kid will see it.
Right.
He's not interested. And you like get in the ring, kid's like, And you've seen that where they'll be like, come on, and the kid's like, no, not going anywhere near him. But that was not the case. So, and now those kids are grown up. So I'll be going places, but yo, Brodus Clay, I was Funkasaurus, he used to dance every night. And I was like, see, so I didn't get to be champ, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
And now you got a new lane.
Yep. See, I'm tall again. Hold on. All right.
You good?
Yep.
Yeah, definitely stand taller. Look up to the ceiling now.
Oh, that's what it looks like.
How'd that feel?
Feels really good.
You can go further than normal?
Yeah, I'd be usually here.
Yeah.
Or I'd do this.
Definitely.
Ingrid, what do you think?
So there's a person back here. Let's put both hands over here.
Not really excited about this pose.
Bring it down just a little bit.
You're not getting me in the master lock. What are we doing?
Try to keep your feet where they are.
All right.
It's a trust fall.
Oh.
All right. Now, standing right there, bring both arms up over your head again.
There you go.
Right. Not bad.
That's a real D.
Yeah. You got them together this time.
Yeah, this really feels really good. Yeah, I don't feel the tension at all. Usually I'm like this all the time.
Right. Put this left shoulder back towards you. Like a row. Perfect. Keep coming with it. All right, both arms up again there. I think it's tricep. All time, who's the face of the WCW? Is it Sting or Ric Flair?
It's got to be Ric Flair.
Who's the face of NWA?
Dusty Rhodes.
I was gonna say Dusty. All right, if you had to choose one, Hollywood Hogan's Impact or Stone Cold Steve Austin's Impact?
Oh, well, Hogan, just because I grew up hating him.
Hollywood version.
Yeah. No, Hollywood was good. He had to do that. But he got cool. But it wasn't because of him. It was because of Nash and Hall made him cool. He does NWA without them. They're like,
right.
Just a bald guy with beard dye. But when he got with Hall and Nash, he was legit. He was cool. He was edgy.
Best technical wrestler of all time.
Arn Anderson. T.J. Wilson, Arn Anderson. Cesaro's pretty damn good. Dolph Ziggler. Brian Myers.
How do you feel about the new guys, particularly some of the guys from New Japan, the Bullet Club, All Elite guys?
The more guys that are wrestling, the more companies that are on TV, the better it is for everybody.
Because AEW right now, we'll see if Kenny Omega ends up coming back. You got him, Darby, Sammy.
I like Darby. I like.
He's definitely a smaller guy.
I like Hook. I like Hook. I get a kick out of Hook.
Yeah. And they've developed, so they're mixing and matching because they got the homegrown, Adam Page and those guys.
If no one's ever seen AAA, because that's what AEW is.
Right.
That's AAA. AAA, the 6-man teams and all that. That's classic Mexican wrestling. Yeah. So it's kind of cool that they brought that, and it's different. Everyone has their lane. And NWA we're more ground and pound, and
Well, it's like the cruiserweight division that WCW had back in the day.
Yeah, but these guys are main eventers too. So which is good.
And WWE grew some of those guys.
And I love Moxley.
Eddie and
Moxley's a good guy. Lord Regal, it's good to see him back in a bigger role.
Doing stuff over there again.
But it's a good time. As long as you have a choice. When I was a kid, we had a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And with wrestling, you need to have a choice.
For a long time there wasn't. You have to have other organizations with pressure on creative at WWE
because then they get better.
To keep progressing. I mean, that's really what happened during the Monday Night Wars, really.
Because people had two TVs on literally next to each other. They couldn't even switch. They had two TVs connected to the cable so they could watch it the exact same.
It was arms race. It was like our military growth versus the USSR versus.
And it will take time because it's wrestling.
You need a good rival, yeah?
Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff used to say, you don't know nothing in the ring till you wrestle at least 150 times. In the ring in front of an audience before you kind of get it. So when guys start getting into their late 30s, they really start getting it. Once they get to the, and just go out there and do their thing and relaxed, it's a completely different game.
And it changes it. Okay. And lean upper body back. Keep leaning back. Keep leaning back. Keep coming. Keep coming.
Good. That's pretty good. I feel great.
Reach that right arm back. And come right here. Keep reaching back a bit. Keep going back a bit. Good. Left arm now. Palm forward, so you can kind of reach like you're stretching your back. Keep going down.
I think I'm going to backhand or front hand.
Yeah, exactly. Little chop action. Yeah. There.
Not a big chopper. I always throw a backhand.
There you go.
When I chop him, you punch him in the face, but that's just me.
Just I want either, sir. Either.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
There we go. Standing upright. All right, and where on TV can we find you now?
Well,
6 different places.
Yeah, really. Fight Network for NWA or YouTube. Fox News channel. Then you can also catch me on Fox Nation. Oh, my book. You can catch my book, Amazon.com, whatever. And then, of course, I got a ton of movies and TV shows out there. You can check out The Preacher. There's a bunch of them. And, of course, right here. See, in here, just for you, since you didn't know, I have the greatest blurb ever in a book. Former White House press secretary Dana Perino and Snoop Dogg wrote the blurbs for my book. So,
I'm gonna read it. George, aka Tyrus, aka the realest, most blunt human being on the face of the planet Earth, never had a problem telling you what was on his mind or how he felt, good or bad. Tough exterior, but a heart of gold. Frontliner, great friend, an excellent coach for my youth football team. His work ethic is obvious, taking him from football to bodyguard to pro wrestler to a superb personality at Fox News. I've seen him climb the ladder of success, and I'm happy that I was along for the journey. Snoop Doggy Dogg.
So see?
Boom. Cool. Go check him out. Go follow him on all the shows. FoxNation.com probably can give you the directory for it.
Yep.
Every single night he's beating Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon and all these guys.
yeah, and he's carrying the strap right now. So be on the lookout. NWA, probably heavyweight world champion soon, and we'll catch him on the next time.
Yeah, hey, thank you, Doc. I
Yes,
feel
sir.
great. Thank you.